Hello, thank you so much for joining us today. It is Tuesday, November 9th, and today we are joined by Michelle McCloskey and Lori Timney. I hope I said that correctly, I'm sorry. Michelle has been providing community outreach support as an outreach specialist for New Jersey Relay and CapTel since 2019. As an individual born with hearing loss, her deep passions include community outreach and serving individuals with limitations. She is a native New Jerseyan and has worked with several nonprofits across the state over the last few years, raising awareness on New Jersey Relay and CapTel's communications products and services. This experience has given her a deep appreciation for helping individuals who may be deaf, deafblind, hard of hearing, or who have speech disabilities with their communication preferences, which in turn allows for the fostering of independence and self-advocacy. Further, her experience has shown her how nonprofits seek to improve the quality of life for New Jersey, one program at a time. Her supervisor, Lori Timney, is the customer relations manager and has been working with New Jersey Relay and CapTel for over 10 years. So we have included captioning for this program. You can turn that on by clicking the More button. And you can also use the chat box or the Q&A box. Chat box is mainly for making comments or participating with other participants, and the Q&A box will be open for questions for the panelists. So without further ado, thank you for being here, and let's get started.
All right. Thank you, Erin and Frankie. And thank you, New Jersey, the ARC of New Jersey, for having us here today to present to you. My name is Michelle McCloskey, and I am an outreach specialist with New Jersey Relay, as Erin has introduced me. I have my supervisor, Lori, here as well, and she is going to be assisting with the presentation and switching the slides for me. So thank you, Lori. Here on this slide, you will see about 10 different services offered by New Jersey Relay and CapTel. So you might be asking yourself, what are these services? To give a little bit of background information, our services assist individuals who have some degree of hearing loss or a speech disability. We have solutions for everybody to be able to make their phone calls to anyone, anywhere in the world. This slide shows a summary of our services, but as we proceed forward to the next slide, I will explain more in depth on each of our services. We have quite a few different services out there. And a question that I have to you, anybody want to take a guess as to why we have so many services? Well, it is because we are all different and unique, and we all have different needs and communication preferences. What might be ideal, an ideal form of communication for one individual might be the least desirable for another. The best part of these services is that they are available at no cost to anyone with a hearing loss or speech disability who lives or works in New Jersey. So you heard that right. It's definitely a free service. You know, it's no cost to the user. If you're wondering how these services are free, it is because they are provided through the state of New Jersey in compliance with the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act, otherwise known as the ADA. So these services are considered an accommodation. Just to give a little bit of background about the ADA, it was signed into law in 1990 by President George H.W. Bush. That was just over 30 years ago. The law states that everyone has a right to equal access to many different telecommunications services, including the telephone. Thank you, Lori. So here we have the TTY relay services. TTY is short for teletypewriter. This service is perfect for someone who prefers to type and read their phone calls. The way they can type and read their phone calls is with a special device called a TTY, again, short for teletypewriter. If you see the picture labeled TTY on the slide, you can see that the TTY device, you can see what it looks like. So the way the service works is that you would call the relay service where a human operator will answer and connect the deaf individual to a third party, such as a pizza restaurant. The deaf individual types away on their TTY, for example, "Hello, this is Michelle. I would like to order a pizza for delivery, please." Ooh. The relay operator will first read what I have typed and then will speak what I have typed to the pizza restaurant. The pizza restaurant will hear the relay operator reading my message and will respond back. "Hello, Michelle. Yes, we can deliver your pizza pie within 45 minutes. The relay operator then listens to the response of the restaurant and then types their response back to me, showing up on my TTY display screen. And then I can go ahead and read the message. Next slide, please, Lori. Thank you. So here we have a similar service called IP Relay. IP stands for Internet Protocol. This just means that you are connecting through the internet. It just means you're connecting through the internet via a web browser. And you can use your personal computer, a tablet, or even a smartphone. So you can actually call and receive captioning on the go. This is pretty cool. I think anyway, you don't have to be tied down to a stationary computer or a phone line or anything like that. So if I'm using my smartphone and I want to call a friend remotely, I call the relay operator, provide my friend's phone number, and the operator will connect us, much like three-way calling. Remember three-way calling back years ago before cell phones? It works, similar in that way. A relay operator reads aloud my typed words to my friend and then types my friend's spoken message back to me, which shows up on the screen of my smartphone, as you can see with the picture here on this slide. You can also access IP Relay through our mobile app as well, as that is available. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide shows another type of service that we offer. It's called the captioned telephone, or what we call CapTel for short. This service is perfect for someone who likes to talk and read. For example, it could be an individual who is perhaps late deafened or who recently lost their hearing, but is comfortable speaking the English language since childhood. For instance, grandma and grandpa. This is a perfect solution for them. It could even be a younger individual who perhaps is hard of hearing, who has learned to speak clearly and pretty well. This service does require a special device called a CapTel phone. As you can see, the green bubble on this slide shows a picture of the CapTel phone and a CapTel user. So if grandma is using her CapTel phone, she would pick it up, dial the number of the party she is trying to reach, and at the same time, the call automatically connects to a captioner, a captioning service. When the individual grandma is calling picks up, the two are speaking directly to each other. Grandma says, "Hi, how are you?" directly to the other party. As the other party begins to speak, "I am well, thank you very much." Those words are captioned and appear on the CapTel phone. So if grandma is trying her best to hear the conversation but misses a few words, these words appear on the CapTel phones and works great for her. And as I mentioned in the past, the best part about this is it's a completely free product and service to an individual with hearing loss. You may be familiar with the Captioned telephone. It's one of our more well-known products that we offer out there. So they become very popular over the years. So this, So this phone does assist, it helps make their lives and communication much easier over the phone, to be able to pick up some words that they may have missed in the course of the conversation. Next slide, Lori. Okay. Here we have WebCap Tel, another service. This is an option for someone who likes to talk and read. This service, much like the CapTel phone, this service might be better suited for someone who perhaps works on a computer in an office for a period of time. This service requires the user to be utilizing a telephone with access to captioning through the internet via a web browser on, say, a laptop or a stationary computer. WebCap Tel does have a registration process where you need to provide 2 phone numbers, your own phone number and that of the party you are trying to reach. Once that information is submitted, the WebCap Tel user's phone will ring. This ring is the captioner connecting to the WebCap Tel user. Then the captioner connects to the party that the WebCap Tel user is trying to reach. The 2 parties start speaking to one another directly, and then the other party's spoken words are being captioned by the captioner and will appear on the web browser window of the WebCap Tel user. One thing to remember is that any phone can be used. It can be an office phone, a home phone, a cell phone. The only requirement here is that you have an internet connected device, such as a laptop, or a tablet for the captions. Okay, on to the next slide. So voice carryover, or VCO, it's called. This is great for folks who also like to talk and read responded messages as well. There is a special device here, and it can either be a VCO phone or a TTY, a teletypewriter. In the green bubble here on the top right of this slide, you see a picture of a VCO phone. This phone is kind of like a, an all-in-one phone. It's both a TTY and a regular phone, and it comes with it comes with a headset. This phone also uses a relay operator to initiate and facilitate the call between the parties. The VCO user speaks directly to, say, a doctor's office, for example, and while I'm trying my best to listen to the doctor's office response, the user can read what they say on the VCO display. In this case, the role of the operator is to listen and type to the VCO phone. They serve as the ears and types all the spoken words and background sounds, if any, to the VCO user. Next slide, please. Okay. So here we have hearing carryover. The last slide was voice carryover. So this is perfect for someone who struggles to speak clearly on the phone, but can hear just fine. This service requires a VCO/HCO phone or a TTY. Basically, a VCO or HCO phone is the same thing as a VCO phone. You know, it's the same phone. The VCO phone, sorry, yeah, that we talked about on the previous slide for voice carryover. In this scenario, the HCO user listens and types on the VCO HCO phone or the TTY, and the relay operator reads the HCO user's words aloud to the other party. The other party listens and their response is spoken directly to the HCO user, either through the headset that's displayed through the headset that's plugged into the VCO device, or they can pick up the headset and listen to the message. So HCO is almost like the opposite of VCO, but it works both ways. And you can see on the screen here, you know, you see the HCO user, the gentleman there using the headset and communicating with his VCO phone via a relay operator, you know, connecting him to his other party. So another service for someone who has, you know, for someone who also has a speech disability, speech to speech, or what we call STS. Speech disabilities come in many forms. Maybe, you know, it could be somebody from, you know, that had suffered from a stroke, or maybe cerebral palsy, perhaps even someone who has had cancer, unfortunately, where, you know, their vocal cords may have been damaged and might sound really rough. Speech to speech just requires any regular phone, and there is no special device needed. It is pretty simple. When an STS user wants to make a call, they dial and are connected to a speech-to-speech relay operator. Now, these operators are specially trained to identify and recognize many different types of speech patterns. So then the STS user has two options. They can allow their voice to be heard by the other party, or they can mute their voice, only allowing the relay operator to hear their voice, but not the other party. This may help if, you know, perhaps they start, you know, to stutter. The relay operator will listen and repeat directly to the third party. The other party will listen and speak directly back to the speech-to-speech user. STS users hear just fine, but they do struggle to have clear speech over the phone. So this could be helpful, you know, in assisting them with their speech and communication over the phone. Okay, so here is the third of three, the video assisted speech to speech. Yeah, excellent for folks who like to express themselves during their call and show, possibly show facial expressions, perhaps some hand gestures or showing signs, something that they maybe perhaps written down and want to display on video. This service requires any phone, and it utilizes an internet connection. The call is facilitated via a relay operator and via you know, video technology, you know, such as Zoom, for example. The relay operator repeats the video-assisted speech-to-speech user's spoken words and visual cues to the other party as needed for clarity. Then the third party will speak their response directly to the video-assisted speech-to-speech user. So, very similar to the speech-to-speech, except that this is, a video-assisted service, whereas the other one is not. Next slide, please, Lori. Laura, I know this is a lot of information, but it is a good thing that we have, several different types of services to offer, to our communities and to the state of New Jersey. So I'm really happy about that. So this here is TeleBraille Relay. So we do also assist individuals that might have a visual impairment as well. The TeleBraille Relay is perfect for individuals who prefer to communicate on their phone using Braille. Maybe they are both deaf and blind. They can't hear, but they can read Braille and can make their own phone calls. So that's a really, a really good thing. They're, they have their own independence. They can own their own phone calls. So this, service and this device allows them to, to make their own calls. So they use a special TeleBraille device or a TTY with a large visual display. This service works where the relay operator reads aloud the TeleBraille user's typed words to the other party and types the other party's spoken words and background sounds, if there are any, to the TeleBraille user. Next slide, please. Okay. All right, so another Braille service that we offer is the CapTel Braille. You remember back in the beginning of the presentation, we had spoken a little bit about the CapTel, the regular CapTel telephones. This service uses a CapTel Braille phone with the model number 880IB. There's a Braille display reader connected to the phone, and for this service, a landline telephone connection and a internet service is required. Much like the regular CapTel phone, this CapTel Braille phone automatically connects to a captioning center. This phone enables the deaf-blind CapTel Braille user to hear, read captions in Braille and speak during their phone calls. So this means that the deaf-blind individual can make calls to anywhere, which is pretty awesome, isn't it? That's pretty remarkable. So that is CapTel Braille. On to the next slide, please. My favorite, relay conference captioning, otherwise known as RCC for short. This is for someone who wants captions for conference calls, video meetings, and webinars. If you remember in the beginning of the presentation, I had informed you that there were some links available in the chat for you to click on, and you would have, that would enable you to have full captioning to this webinar. It works very similar to, if you need captioning for your television RCC captions the entire webinar. I use this service all the time for myself. As a hearing impaired individual, I don't always pick up the spoken word said to me. There are words that I miss here and there. So I always have RCC on. It's my preference to have it on a secondary device. Right now, I have it on my cell phone. You could, like I said earlier, you could share it with your webinar screen on the one device, or you can have it side by side on a secondary device. So hopefully you all were able to click on those links, send and access the captions. So in this scenario, a phone is optional, but an internet connected device, of course, is required. The RCC user basically reads the live captions via a web browser on the device, and they either have the option of speaking, or they can actually type to communicate with other attendees. And I think I just saw that Lori had gone ahead and shared the link again. So as I'm talking about it, thank you, Lori. If you wanted to, if you didn't have a chance to click on the link in the beginning of the webinar, you can go ahead and do so now, just to kind of get an idea of, of how it works. All right, and finally, we have the standard phone users. So we talked about, different ways that, individuals with limitations, whether it's a hearing limitation, a visual limitation, or a speech limitation, how they can make their phone calls. So you might be wondering, well, what if I want to just make a phone call to a friend of mine, that has, say, a hearing loss. Those would be called our standard phone users. And we always say, because it's not easily, you don't know right away, exactly what their communication preference is. So it's always smart to just ask the person how they would like to be reached over the phone. And of course, if they need, if they would prefer a relay service, New Jersey Relay, then that's always available by dialing 711 to reach a relay operator. But it's as you just learned, there's so many options out there as far as what mode of communication that they would like to use, whether it's a relay service, a cap if they need just a captioning service for some online work, a captioned telephone, but it is really up to the individual to let their circle of family and friends know their communication preferences. Next slide, please, Lori. Thank you. All right, wow, okay. So we went through all those services. Okay, I know it's a lot of information. I definitely want to, I'm not even sure what time it is, but I do want to open up the floor, to any questions that you guys have regarding any of our services. We also, Lori, has worked extensively on, our website. We have, updating our website with all these services. There's excellent videos, actual like YouTube videos that you can see and view on our website at www.NJ Relay, that's NJRELAY.com. We are all over social media, as you can see, you know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So, you know, there's a lot of resources out there for, you know, if you are interested in learning more about our services, if you have somebody in mind, yourself or somebody in mind that could benefit from our free products and services. We'd love to hear from you. Of course, Lori and I are always available as well. And with that, I think I will open. If Lori, I'm not sure if I forgot anything, Lori, if there's anything you'd like to add, otherwise oh, okay, it was 2:37. Okay. If Lori, all right. So I'm sure there's, Lori, is there anything? I'm just wondering if there's anything that I missed that maybe you would like to add for us.
Hi, everybody. This is Lori. I'm Lori Timney. And really, I think, Michelle, you did an awesome job explaining all of our wonderful accessible services that we have. And these services help to bridge communication between many different members who live and work in the state of New Jersey. Just so everybody knows, if anybody has any questions, please feel free just to kind of jump in. We're happy to answer questions. Don't be afraid. Come on.
And, you know, yeah, Erin, if you feel free to type your questions as well, you know, in the box, we're more than willing to answer, you know, any questions that you may have for us.
If you also think of a question after the webinar is over, feel free to reach out to either our program, the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project, or NJ CapTel, and we can relay any questions and get back to you within 24 hours. We are also recording this webinar, so you are able to watch it later if you want to go over some of the material that was talked about today.
Yeah, and of course, you know, if you think, you know, if you think of a question at a later time, I'm always available. You have my my email address there. You could always email me, you know, with any questions that you have in the future. I'm happy to help. That's what I'm here for.
Excellent.
Fabulous.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, if you think of any other questions that you would like answered, just let us know and we can get that response out to you. But thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Michelle and Lori, for being here as well, and Brandon.
Right.
Great, great.
Thank
yes,
you.
it's really our pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.